Of course, we have what we can call our community. This morning, we have reached a community membership of 5,000 on different platforms, especially on WhatsApp and also on Facebook. Then we have been able to also secure a partnership with 5 global groups. And also we have secured 10 collaborations from WhatsApp and also Facebook group. And we have been able to upgrade or added high-profile scholars and leaders around the world, about 70 now in that very group on LinkedIn. And we have people that voluntarily are having interest in this very program. We have 150 of them, and we have like I said, 4 live sessions in January, and also we have made yes, on our various announcements and the rest of that we have made 20 posters, and this is an indication that people are actually buying into this very program to actually tap from the opportunities and also learn from the experienced scholars that we are bringing to them, to give them a kind of a sense of substance, sense of direction, and sense of quality of what they should do in their career. On that very note, I want to welcome all our participants that are here now, Mr. Mohammed Alimi, Mr. Samuel Aluko, and also Mrs. Anisat Adebisi. And on that very note, yes, let us have a kind of an opening remarks about this very program from our dear global guest, Professor Vishnu Bose. What do you see? What is your insight about this very program that we call the Scholars and Leaders Support Program? Thank you, sir.
Alushara Fadiyara, all fellow members, scholars, and guests present over here. Very good morning to all of you. I express my sincere thanks and gratitude to all of you. Special thanks and gratitude to Ambassador Dr. Shahid Adibeshi. He has taken very excellent initiatives in towards development of the scholar and leadership programs, and it is very I greatly appreciate in this initiative. It is my privilege to deliver a small speech in scholar leadership program, and I am grateful to all of you being here today with all great personality, leader and scholar invited in this seminars. At SLSP, of course, we will discuss the current deficit in scholarship and active leadership, of course. And of course, our goal is to empower vibrant scholar and dynamic leader to drive progress and growth towards a sustainable world. That is the aim of this program. Now I coming to look back to the past history of our global philosopher leader. If we look back to our great philosopher and true leader in the global in the worldwide, their aim was to build a true and better civilization on the earth, so that human community and all living creatures sustain happily on the earth. To building a better civilization, our past philosophers struggling a lot dedicatedly and concentrate to provide better education to the human community of our global community. So great among the great philosophers, we know the name Aristotle, Socrates, Pythagoras, Plato, Gautam Buddha. They are sacrificed whole life to provide good education, good knowledge to the society, and to make to human community in the earth. Why education is so important? Because this program is mainly connected to education global in the global level. Education is a tool with which one can conquer the world without harming anyone. The mental strength of a human being is what makes it the strongest species in the entire universe. Learning or acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, morals, beliefs, habits, and personal development is facilitated by true education systems. So education began as a means of passing along cultural knowledge from one generation to the next generation. And coming to the leader, a true leader is someone who is known for his or her work ethics. A true leader is known for his or her actions, which allows people to trust him or her. A true leader will always guide everyone and help them to make a great human. The qualities of a great leader cannot be cultivated in a day or month or year, as it requires year of practice, patience, and dedication, motivation, and have the ability to understand the situation and lead from the front. Great leaders, great scholars are always committed to their goal, and they have great respect for every person in a team. Now coming to the leadership role towards the achieving global sustainable development goal, which United Nations has specified 17 sustainable development goal to build a better world or to save the earth. For sustainable development to be achieved, it is crucial to harmonize three core elements: economics, economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. These elements are interconnected and all are crucial for the well-being of individuals and societies and whole earth, whole global community as well. The effort for sustainable development is a battle that we need to give together as one. For attaining the sustainable development goals, leaders must manage resources, be visionary and ethical, and focus on long-term goals without compromising values and principles. Moreover, leaders should be motivated by a vision to achieve the goals in the midst of changing environment factors and involve all stakeholders in the governance process. Leadership reflects the characteristics of the transformational leadership style. The effect of this kind of leadership, coupled with coordination and participation of all concerned, would potentially lead to improvement in economic efficiency, social cohesion, and environmental responsibility. These are the three basic indicators of sustainable development goals. The achievement of sustainable development, yes, and diverse stakeholders are necessary to ensure that the sustainable development goals are achieved at national and international level. So I conclude my speech over here, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, dear Professor, thank you so much for that very opening speech. We will still come back to the other questions that are very, very peculiar to your career, that we are here actually to listen to motivate the next generation of scholars and leaders. Thank you so much. And I will go straight to another wonderful, high-profile and renowned Mr. Kapil Kaur, all the way from India, to also give us this opening remarks for this very session in February. Of course, this is a Scholars and Leaders Support Program. And our vision is very, very direct. Looking forward, how can we create the next generation of scholars and leaders that are going to impact the world, not minding the background, not minding the class, not minding what kind of a society we are from? Mr. Kapil Kaur, sir, over to you, sir.
Good evening. Good day to everybody.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Shahid, Mr. Vishnu Bose, and other friends who are online at this point of time. I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the most important aspect of our lives in the world today and on this planet. Before that's a misnomer. We are tenants in the planet. Mother Nature owns this planet. So that's first thing everybody has to realize. Our economic activity is conducted so that human beings are sustainable in terms of employment, livelihood, and their prosperity. But in this equation, economic equation, we have totally deleted Mother Nature. I was a chief guest at a function where we are talking about capital for the common good. Now, what is capital? Capital is, in a traditional sense, money in the bank, assets that we have in terms of production facilities, economic processes, etc. But to be true, all banks in the world today are running on deficit financing, on debt, including the Federal Reserve. So capital cannot be negative. So if you go deep down, you will understand that the only capital that exists genuinely today is in the earth, which is in the form of minerals, in the form of crude oil, in the form of water, in the form of food, agriculture. That's the capital. And that capital is in a bank owned by Mother Nature. Now, when you take capital from the bank, you pay interest to the bank. Now, we as human beings have taken all this capital and are still taking the capital from Mother Nature. What interest are we paying to Mother Nature? Zero. Are we really costing in the environmental impact of what we are doing in all our products? Not at all. That's one cost element that we are not bringing in. So I had evolved a E3 formula, which is conserving three elements. What are the three elements? Energy, environment, and ecology. These three E's you can achieve by conserving three C's. The three C's are crude oil, consumerism, mass consumerism, which is very harmful and wasteful. All right. Where we can do with one shirt, two shirts, we are buying 10 shirts and 15 shirts. You need cotton to produce the shirts. And cotton today is the biggest source of water scarcity in the planet. Right. And the third thing is circumstantial corruption. I will not expand too much on this at this point of time for paucity of time, but corruption is prevalent because of circumstances of human beings. It is not something that a person gets into because you want to get into it. It is for your own survival. So it has to be looked upon on a humane basis, and it is relevant to the ecology and the environment. Now, how do you achieve this? When you achieve these three, you conserve these three C's, you eliminate one W, and that one W is waste. Waste of any kind. Waste of time, waste of money, waste of resources, crude oil waste, plastic waste. So waste and waste of clothes. You don't need so many clothes. You don't need so much food. You don't need so many things today in society. So today, the consumeristic society that we have is wasteful. And that is harming us and hurting us. And if you do this, then you have hope in really doing something. My last statement that I'd like to make is that man does not own this planet. Mother Nature owns this planet. Please be aware of that. And man has to be protected against himself because man is his own greatest enemy. Right? So, with this, I thank you very much for enabling me to make this initial statement and speech in this group. And maybe we can do so in future also. Thank you, Dr. Shahida Devesi. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yes, when we heard from
Thank you so much.
Professor Vishnu, we heard from the dimension of education and relevance of sustainable development. And now, Mr. Kapikal is coming from the dimension of how humanity has affected, exploited the modern earth, and yet not giving back to what is due to it. That is wonderful opening. And now, let's quickly go to Dr. Odushola Fadairo for his opening remarks on this session for the month of February. Doctor, sir.
Thank you so very much. I am pleased to be on this platform again. I like to appreciate the convener, Dr. Adibisi, for this brilliant initiative. I appreciate other guests. I've listened with rapt attention to the presentation by Dr. Vishnu Padabosi and then Professor Kapil Kaur. And it's very interesting to learn of the dimensions that these scholars have looked at the issues that we are currently discussing. I want to reflect mainly on the connections between leadership and scholarship and community development, building a strong, prosperous society. We have talked about our contributions to ensuring that the health remains sustainable for not just for us, but also for the future. But we scholars, we hold it a responsibility. Some of these things that we talk about here, the kind of depth of understanding that we have, not many people out there have this understanding. It will amaze you if you go on the street to interview a common man on the street about the concept of sustainability, what is going to be their reactions to this whole issue. And it is because there is a disconnect between research and researchers and then those people out there, the town and the gown. So, and that is why I commend the initiative by this SLSP to bridge this gap. That's one of the ideals and ideas of this behind this platform, to ensure that we have scholars who constantly engage with people out there, so that we can have this, engagement that can rub on them, and then also we can also learn from their perspectives that can help us to improve on what we are doing, so that the innovation we are developing and packaging are well attuned to the interests and the desires and the needs of the people. So we as researchers, we oftentimes have engaged so much in what I describe as monologue, talking to ourselves. By attending conferences, we bring experts like ourselves to conferences and we speak to ourselves. The COP, 28, and then every of these COP. What is the percentage of those people who are not researchers, strong researchers that attend this meeting? Do we make are we intentional about ensuring that people who are community, people who are the receiving hands, play key and dominant roles in this engagement? We have engaged ourselves too much in monologue, talking to ourselves. We need to begin to think of opportunities to engage in dialogue, talking to several stakeholders at the same time. That is one key thing that I think will help to build a viral society and ensure that our sustainable development is on the right trajectory towards achieving the goals we have set. And we can do this by many ways. Of course, I've reiterated the importance of this platform as one of the key ways by which we are trying to achieve this. Some of us, you will recall that our responsibility as academics, we normally describe this as standing on three legs. Number one, teaching. Number two, research. And the third aspect, which is community engagement, community development. We must ensure that we write, when we write articles for publication, do we explore other avenues towards ensuring that we carry the non-research audience along, writing blog articles, writing also opinion editorials in public spaces where people, ordinary persons, and then breaking down these big, our big jargons and grammar into bits that can be assimilated by a common person. How can they understand what carbon credit means? What is the understanding of carbon credit? Carbon credit as a concept is, I think, is big. It's too big for a common man to understand. We need to break down some of these jargons and languages that can be related to by a common person on the streets, and they can have understanding of this concept and they'll be able to use it very well. Another is by engaging policy actors through advocacy, policy briefs, and also doing research uptake. Research uptake, going back to communities where relevant data have been collected to jointly, analyze this data, look at how what are the findings, and then we can also have contributions from the community people with respect to why the data looks the way it looks like before we make our final conclusion, and then take it up from that point to the point of engaging with policy actors so that relevant policies can be, looked at towards addressing whatever issue we are trying to investigate. So I have just spoken, I don't have any written speech, but as my initial, comments, to just reflect on, while it is very good to talk about, taking from the half, and then we must also think about giving back to the half so that we can ensure sustainability, like as emphasized by Professor Kapil, and then by Professor Padabosi, that he talked about leadership, and then how leadership can ensure sustainability, relating it to sustainable development goals, how strong viral leadership can contribute to achieving all this. We must also ensure that these issues, very important, are also broken down in languages that can be understood by common people, and then also follow it up towards ensuring that these things are appropriately utilized. And then we can have a win-win situation. Enough of researchers engaging in monologue. Researchers need to be intentional about ensuring that we now dialogue with the people, we discuss with the people. The third leg on which the academia stands, which is community engagement, must be given priority attention if we are truly committed to building a society that is very strong and varied, and then we are interested in ensuring that we preserve what we have now for future generations to also benefit from it, and as a matter of fact, even improve upon it. On that note, I'd like to say thank you for having me on this platform.
Our facilitator, Dr. Adebisi, and thank you for having me on this call. It's a privilege to be here to rub minds with great scholars and leaders. I've listened keenly, though I joined a bit late. I've listened keenly to other speakers, and I think we have a common point, particularly the last speaker touched on most of the things that bothers my mind, talking about scholarship, leadership, and community development. But the dimension I will want to look at is the next generation, actually. When we talk about sustainable development goals and we talk about preserving Mother Earth, how we can use the present without jeopardizing the future, we also have to include the people we are trying to preserve the future for. For those of us into patient safety, there's this common cliche, nothing about us without us. For us to ensure success, we must carry the next generation along. We must ensure we go to the bottom and carry them along and engage them in the discussions The voices of young people must be heard. The voices of vulnerable populations as well, those who are excluded and marginalized by circumstances, humanitarian events or activities, armed conflict, disaster, and all that. Underrepresented population as well will have to be included. That is where my thoughts aligns with that of my respected colleague who just spoke. As researchers and scholars, we also have to domesticate our findings and speak in the language of the people, not the language of the brain, but the language of the mind at this point in time. That is where we can really get a buy-in from our people, when there is that core ownership or core production with the locals, with the end users of what we generate, the people we are trying to work for. And we cannot also undermine the strength of young people. We cannot also undermine the capacity and the capability, the skills of young people. Oftentimes, though sometimes inexperienced, they need the experience and the guidance of those who have gone ahead, of those who are exposed. And that is what I think this platform provides. And it's a very good opportunity to really learn and to glean from this wealth of experience that flows from this platform. And that is just my take here, my few remarks that I have with respect to today's session, the February session, of which I am opportune to be part of. Thank you very much for having me on this call, Dr. Abesi.
Of our dear global guest today, so that our participants can pick something from it and learn from it. I have seen the profile of all our guests. Very impactful, very inspiring, very exciting, very motivating, very encouraging. But how have you been able to journey to achieve all these great things and impact successfully on the society? Can we learn from it? So you can tell us your story of scholarship and leadership in the next 10 minutes. Professor Bisnu Bosesa, let's start from you.
Yes, very good morning to all, Professor Dr. Ambassador Dr. Shahid Adibishi, and all distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, dear scholars, and all students. Very good morning. It is my pleasure to have in this platform today to deliver some speech. In my career, if I talk about my research career, when I joined in the research in PhD program, of course, I learned many things from my professors who taught me that how research will start from zero to success level, and how it will be a realistic things which could help to the global level. I mean, towards global sustainable development platforms. So it is mainly successful student depend on their motivation, dedication, and their desired topic of subjects. It is very important things. The student who is going to perform his research or his or her research, first of all, he like this subject, whether he is liking or not, and it must be his own interested field. So I, being from the civil engineering background, and I started research in the mainly sustainable building material wings. And initially, I determined that what is the exactly problem is lying, and I try to solve this problem. That I start to solve this problem, which is actually problem is lying, which affect the environment, which affect the society, which environment, which affect the economy, like that, likewise. So my topic was develop the sustainable building materials through the circular economy concept, right? So exact problem, when I search, I find very relevant issues that in our area, mining waste was dumped last 60-50 years. It's remained as there. Government and private parties not taken any initiative to remove this waste material. It is a few square kilometer has laid. It's occupy vast land area, is pollute environment, is incurred huge amount of costings, so many things. So my professor has given a direction that how I carried out this research to become a realistic path. So I initially, past 1 year, I have experimented rigorously in the laboratory, and I determined many important things which needs to differentiate whether this material, how I will use this material in a sustainable way. So accordingly, finally, I have able to establish that these materials is purely usable materials, and instead of natural conventional materials, I can use this material. So accordingly, I have developed sustainable building materials, maybe concrete and bricks, from my research centers, and it is purely through the circular economy concept. Now, what is the benefit from this research which could impact in the sustainable development goal? Mainly, my product is the bricks and concrete. So bricks, generally in our country, burned clay brick is there. Burned clay brick actually needs fuel, which needs heated up to 1200 degrees Celsius, and that generate greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. So in that perspective, I have developed the brick which not required any fuel or any sintering process. It is actually cold process. That's what it is, purely contributing to the global warming aspect. I mean, reducing the carbon emission, reducing greenhouse gases. At the same time, the waste which is occupied a vast land area, it can be reduced and vacate the huge amount land area, land resources, where agriculture things can be put in there, because waste actually occupied vast land area. So our perspectives of thinking angles. So finally, we have developed a brick and concrete from the waste material that government has taken initiative to scalable initiative to commercialize the things. Mainly, our Coal India Corporation is there in India. So they have taken initiatives to use this waste material. Now, benefit is this: number one, reduce pollution; number two, reduce emissions, greenhouse gases; number three, reduce the volume of waste material; number four, huge land area will be available now because waste will be used for the production purpose, and also maintaining the waste, huge cost involvement is there. If we can use this material, then costing will be reduced. That is also economic benefit, and social inclusion also be there. Near the mining area, that material can be used in the rural road development, rural building materials that can be used over there. So this was my angle of research during my PhD time. So what I understood that one scholar must be devoted for his or her research, his or her goal, and at the same time, the subject must be desire for him or her. I mean, interest should be there, and students should be motivated on these fields. So in that way, with our effort, with our motivation, we can be contribute to towards global sustainable development. So this is actually joint effort to achieve the global sustainable development goal through the scholarship, through the leadership, through the education, through the research, and through performing various genuine activities, ethical activities. Everything is inclusive over there. So education is the prime important things in this way, because education is foundation of everything, civilizations, societal development, economic development, everything. So every student must have performed their higher studies. They could contribute towards global sustainable development goals, which is very much important at this present global scenario to save this planet Earth. Otherwise, we could not sustain in future. There is a huge problem if our joint effort would not contribute to save this planet Earth. In future, we will be facing the problems. I mean, biodiversity loss, environmental pollution, living species lost, marine resources lost, poverty, resource crisis, energy crisis, all those things is there. So every researchers, every scholars, every student must have a goal to perform something which contribute to the towards global sustainable development goals, and subsequently net zero emission goal 2050. Both are almost nearest things. So that for the scholars community, this is my message. They should focus on their research and minutely and dedicatedly. At the same time, they should think about the solution of the problem which is exist on the earth. That should be the perspective of a researchers or scholars, because duty or responsibility of a researchers or scholar to solve a problem which is exist in the earth. I mean, provide the solution. That should be the things. Solution may be many things. Problem also many things. In the global problem, is 17 sustainable development goals covering all problems, including social, economic, environmental, material, resources, energy, education, poverty, marine resources, terrestrial resources, ecology, ecosystem, so many things. At the same time, different university also conducting research in the different things, different directions. So if we put together our all effort, so definitely we will reach the goal of 17 SDG goals and within the deadline. So here is the researcher roles or scholar roles. I conclude this my speech. So thank you so much.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much. You have given us exactly the definition of what a scholar or scholars should focus on, should do to assist the leadership, and also what connects the scholars to the leaders and also the community, and also the responsibility of every student to watch closely the leaders, to watch closely what to do, to watch closely what to drive into, and to also watch closely the solution to bring out of whatever he or she is doing, and also to impact the global community. And
most of my career in two elements, which is commodities, and the other is in FMCG goods, which is consumerism, right? So these are the two things that also have contributed to the desecration of this planet and to Mother Earth. So while I have been talking about my E3 principle and C3 conserving and 1W waste control, I felt it in the same vein as Dr. Bose, that talking and participating in meetings and seminars is not enough. We can talk, but time is running out fast, and it's running out faster than we can imagine. If we think that the global pandemic was a one-off, it isn't. It is just the start of a new age of disasters and other such predicament that we'll face in this planet, simply because the extent of population in this planet at this point of time, vis-a-vis the resources and the way we are consuming it and desecrating the oceans, is not sustainable, period. It's not sustainable. So, coming back to this, I felt that rather than talk, why don't I start setting up businesses and products, making products and entities which actually address these issues themselves and curtail the pollution and help in mankind reinventing itself with new products and get rid of things like crude oil and commodities. So there are three businesses which I've entered into. Fortunately, I have been by destiny, and I would say by a principle that I follow now very, very strictly over the last few years, which is the principle of flow, FLOW, which is that while you have your goals, you have your vision and perspective. Don't don't follow a strict, disciplined approach of just staying on a certain path. You must flow with the moment. If you have an obstruction, you get up in the day, all right? You can think about going out and doing this and that, but if you can't find your shoes, you can't find your socks, you can't get out of your home, right? In the same way, when you have an obstruction, it is not an obstruction. It is a dilemma that you have to address and solve in order to move ahead. And the knowledge that you acquire by addressing that problem and solving it is the tools and implement which you will get of solving an issue and moving ahead. So, for example, when water drops in the mountains, rain drops in the mountains, it comes as streams and rivulets and then a river. When it comes across boulders and a certain hill, etc., what does it do? It doesn't keep banging its head against the boulder or this thing. No, it circumnavigates it. It goes around it and flows further and then goes to the ocean. But while doing so, it cuts the base of the boulder, makes it into alluvial soil, and that alluvial soil is what we plant our grain and everything in the plains. All right. So coming back to the apart from the flow, I've established and I'm part of now three global initiatives. One is green hydrogen. So we've set up, in fact, Dr. Manaf, who is also connected with this entity, is the chairman of Green Powered House, which we have established, which is going to bring into various African countries and in India and other parts of the global south, green hydrogen and green powered initiatives. And we are looking at investing into this in Rwanda and any other countries that will accept our projects and initiatives, especially in Africa, because for me, in terms of civilizational upswing, I see Africa as on an upswing in the coming decades because it has gone through a lot of strife. It's still going through a lot of strife. So the only way that it can go is up, not down. It's only when you're up that you can come down. But when you're down, you can only go up. Second product is that I've established connections with people who are developing drones, which is heavy lift drones, 200 kg plus, right? And you know that Rwanda already is using drones for delivery of medicines and other things, right? So I am into getting heavy lift drones, which will finally go to 1 ton, 1.5 tons. So you don't need polluting vehicles, right? And it's the same thing that what the cell phone has done, the cell phone disruption has done to landlines, where you don't need copper cables, you don't need rooms, houses, etc., which is waste of energy, waste of resources. You're using a cell phone, which, needless to say, if you compare it to a landline, is like comparing a dodo to a brilliant being, which comes to good use to us. So drones are going to be the same disruptive power as cell phones is. So why drones? Because you see, you need vehicles to transport goods, people, services anywhere in any country in the world. It's just like in your body, you have red blood corpuscles that run through your veins and your arteries, and it takes in nutrition, oxygen, and it takes out all the oxidants. In the same way, when it is running very efficiently, the red blood corpuscles are flowing in your body is energized, you can work better, you are healthier, and you're more productive. In an economy and a country, the wheeled vehicles do it, but you know how much traffic jam there is now globally. So the same traffic jam, if you have in your veins for blood, it's called a thrombosis. And you have a heart attack and you can die. In the same way, excessive traffic jams pollute, and it will only create the kind of conditions that will bring about the collapse of an economic system and a people and society, right? Drones is a no-brainer. A, power to weight in terms of engineering, it is far more efficient than wheeled vehicles. Two, in terms of speed, it is halving, more or less halving the speed of connecting point A to point B. C, apart from speed, it is reducing the distance. By road, if you do 100 kilometers, by drone, you'll be doing about 50, 60, 70 kilometers. So, by these three elements, drones is the future. I'll stop at that, but I know Rwanda, I'm in discussions with Rwanda to introduce these drones, and I can be open to discussion with other African countries because remote area access is very important, extremely important for bringing and including people in remote areas into our society and economic processes, and also for disaster management. A drone can function where vehicles can't function in a disaster area. The third product, which I've already bought out, is an air filter. You see, outdoor pollution, we all know how much pollution there is in AQI terms, 2.5 BMI, which is creating a lot of physiological problems, mental problems. So there's a product, an air filter, which we are producing, which is 1/3 the cost of Chinese air filters that are produced. And it's also taking care of viruses and germs. So this is a product for indoor air pollution. When you sleep, when you work, you are actually saying consuming about 18 hours a day indoors. So at least when you're indoors, you can clean the air and live in a healthy manner. I should know why, because I have survived 3 traumas in my life. In 1997, a car ran over me. I nearly died. I survived that. I have a plate in my femur out here. In 2008, I had a fatal heart attack. I went up. I came back. And then I realized, and I had a triple bypass after that. After the triple bypass, I kept questioning, why am I alive? And I realized that I am the guinea pig. Why? When the air is polluted, my RHR, my resting heart rate, goes up to 72 to 75, maybe 80. And when I have clean oxygen, when I go to the areas where I have clean oxygen, my resting heart rate comes down to 65 to 68. So it's a no-brainer as to what pollution does to you. It's doing to me directly. So because of these issues that have happened and circumstances, and because of the position that I attained as the national president of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, as well as I'm on the International Chamber of Commerce Committee on global basis, and I have those connections, I felt that it is my bounden duty to help humanity. That is why I have survived 3 traumatic incidences. There's a third one which has happened also. a motorcycle came and slammed into my car, and I survived that as well. That was in 2018. And these instances have been happening every 10 years to me. So, with that, Dr. Adebisi, I thank you very much for letting me contribute in terms of how society can benefit by reinventing its products, reinventing its lifestyle, and its consumeristic tendencies. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. I don't know how much anybody around the world can pay for this kind of an effort and experience sharing and gigantic project that you have started to save and rescue humanity. Just like Professor Bishnu has also shared. Yes, let's make progress and go direct to Dr. Olusola Fada. Yes, you have discussed, you have highlighted leadership, scholarship, community service. How has your career been able to establish this and your story, sir? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adebisi. I'd like to start by, first and foremost, I want to congratulate Professor Kapil for his ability to make it this far. Definitely, you have a lot to contribute to humanity, and that is why you are still around. And I can always wish you the very best in the future, your future endeavors. I particularly am happy about your flow, that your concept of flowing with the moment. I think it's very important for especially young people who are aspiring to come into the academia to understand the need for them to hold tenaciously to this very important word, because it helps you to be very relevant. Many people are not thriving in the academia today because they have remained rigid, and rigidity is not really going to help anyone. For instance, for me, I trained as my bachelor was in agriculture. And then at master's, I specialized in agricultural extension and rural development. It was at PhD level that I delved into community development, that I have my specialization today. But after then, I've had opportunities to collaborate with scientists and scholars to do research in the areas of climate change. That introduced me to the concept of sustainability, and through that, I was able to also work as a coordinator of a program at the Center for Sustainable Development in my university, University of Ibadan. And, it really opened my eyes a lot. I engaged with other scholars, did a lot of work. And then, so it helped me to know beyond agriculture and to establish the connection between agriculture, sustainable development, and then issues that are very important in sustainability concepts like climate issues, carbon credit, and all the stuff. And today, I am a director of a center in a new university as the director of entrepreneurship, innovation, and sustainability. See the way I've moved from agriculture to agricultural extension to community development, then to climate issues, sustainability, and now talking about entrepreneurship and sustainability and innovation. This can only happen if you are open-minded, if you have a broad mind, and you can multitask, and you can actually engage in a number of things at the same time. It doesn't impose in any way a limitation on you as a scholar. It rather opens, the sky for you, the more to fly, and then to be able to possibilitize your potentials. And I think it is very important that everyone, especially our young scholars listening to us, take this to heart. I like to my success story. I don't know where to start from, actually. But one thing is that I also faced a lot of challenges, and maybe I'll bring out some vital lessons from some of the challenges I encountered in the process of developing from a young secondary school boy to becoming a PhD holder and to become what I am today, which I'm still also aspiring to still be, to get to greater heights. Number one, I'd like to encourage young people to be positive about, any challenge that comes their way. You must be willing to confront your challenges headlong. And then you don't see challenges or obstacles as something that is set to bring you down. If you are positive about it, you will see it as something that you can use as a springboard to achieving success in life. How do I mean? When I was to start my PhD, I was lucky to have been supervised by a professor. And then before that time, I'd worked with another professor who was a consultant to, some World Bank development projects. And I worked closely with him as a research assistant. Unfortunately, at the time we started this consultancy work, he was appointed into the government of a state in the capacity of a secretary to the state government. By that, he didn't have enough time to focus on that assignment anymore. So the mantle of that leadership fell on me. I had to take up that project. So even as a young, by that time, I was just a master's degree holder. As of that time, I was already working as a consultant, acting consultant to a World Bank project. And the project was LEM, Local Empowerment and Environmental Management Project. And then it was implemented in about 11 states in Nigeria. And I was the senior consultant. So it really opened my eyes. The project opened my eyes as a community development expert. And I wanted to even do a PhD in that field. And then learning new things from the field about issues of social inclusion, gender issues and development. I saw a lot of gap from my field exposure that I felt that I can set up a research to provide answers to some of these gaps for my PhD. So at that time, I applied for PhD program. I already had what I wanted to do in mind, and then went to meet my supervisor to engage in discussions with him. Unfortunately, my supervisor wasn't interested in that field. He just looked at me. He said, somebody like you should not do a common research. I don't know what he meant by common research anyway. He felt that idea I was coming up with, and I was so much passionate about that idea. And then to meet a disappointment that my PhD supervisor told me that was a common research. He wanted me to do something much more, grandiose, something, I said, okay, what do you want me to do? In our own climb, it may not, in other climes, students may have 100%, control over what you want to do. But in our own climb, sometimes it is just the best to listen to your supervisor. If your supervisor is not interested in an area, if you choose to be adamant, you may not really fare well in your journey. That is the honest truth. I don't know how it obtains in other climes, but I visited some other countries and I think it's quite different. Students sometimes have up to 90% degree of freedom to dictate what he or she wants to do, what he or she wants to pursue. But sometimes in our own environment, if that area is not resonating well with the interest of your supervisor, you've got to just have a rethink and then follow the guidance or the instructions or the advice of your supervisor. So my supervisor said he wanted me to do a research on corruption. He had just recently attended a seminar where issues of corruption, how it affects development, was seriously discussed at that seminar. And then he came with that burden to that meeting that I had with him, and he said he wanted me to do something on that. He didn't give me any topic anyway, but that was just the idea. And so I had to go back to reflect about corruption for about 3 months, up to 6 months. I was still reflecting, sleeping, waking up, meditating, reflecting. How can I, bring this into my field? What can I do in this area? And until I eventually was able to get a breakthrough. I'll cut the story short. It initially started as a big challenge to me, but because I was positive about it, I had to confront it headlong. And then, in my department, I became renowned for, delving into that very important area, because in the history of the department, before that time, nobody had ventured into research like. As a matter of fact, when I was doing my pre-field seminar, many of the faculty members expressed doubts on the feasibility, the possibility. But because I was so positive that I'm going to do something about it, and then I was very convinced that at least I'll be able to come up with something that further research work can now build on. I was given that chance, and then that became the turning point in my research trajectory and career. Because I did not run away from that challenge, I confronted it. And that gave me the opportunity to now do a postdoc, because eventually when I finished my PhD, my research proposal for a postdoc, which I had at the University of Cape Town in South Africa, at the African Climate and Development Initiative, was about corruption. And then marrying corruption issues now with climate, climate finance, climate governance, and then how it affects agriculture and rural development. I was able to bring all these, broad concepts together in one study, because I did not run away from the challenge posed to me through the suggestions by my supervisor for PhD. I confronted it, and through that, I was able to learn a lot. And then that also helped me to now be able to navigate, between agriculture, core agriculture, and agricultural extension, now into areas of sustainability studies and the rest. And then another thing is that as a researcher, you need to associate yourself with right platform where you can be motivated. I tell you, the journey can be tiring at some point, and then you can be overwhelmed. But occasionally, you need to listen to people, success stories like this. That's why this platform is very important. It does, it goes a long way to motivate you. When I was nominated for the fellowship that I did at University of Cape Town, South Africa in 2015. I was nominated by my university, but unfortunately, I had a lot of administrative responsibilities on my shoulders that time. So I didn't have enough time to sit and then write a proposal. I was required to write a proposal because the nomination was not automatic. You still have to write a proposal, and the proposal is going to be screened, and then only those who are qualified eventually will be awarded that fellowship opportunity. So my university nominated me. For 3 months, about 3 months, I couldn't do anything. Not because I didn't want to do it, but because I was overwhelmed. I was exam officer, we call this undergraduate coordinator, I had my teaching responsibility at the same time, administrative work. That was so much overwhelming for me. And I really could not breathe, not to talk of now finding time to write a proposal. And then it was just in 2 days. The call was going to close in 2 days. That was when I got the right motivation. I attended a seminar. That seminar was held at CESDEP, Center for Sustainable Development, University of Ibadan. I can remember it was one of our professors, Professor Adetimiri, who was invited. He was one of the speakers. And then in one of the slides, he showed like a bag of fund, coming, distended from the sky. And then there were a number of persons on ground who are expectant to catch the bag of fund that was coming from the sky. A particular group, they were folding their hands were folded. Then some other groups, they stretched their hands toward the bag of fund that was up. Then the man, posed a question. There's more probability that when this fund eventually is let loose, there is higher probability that it will get into the hands of those who are already, stretching for their hand towards the fund than those who are folding their hands. So that word, marked a turning point. It sank into me that, look, you want scholarship, you are not doing anything about it, it's not going to come to you. If wishes were horses, they say beggars were right. You must, work towards it. You must be committed. And that very moment, I just remember that, oh, there's this scholarship that, I haven't had the time to apply for. And it's closing in 48 hours time. And I went straight from that seminar, went back to my office, sat down, and then within 24 hours, a proposal that was difficult for me to write in 3 months, within 24 hours, I wrote a proposal and submitted. I'm happy to tell you that that proposal got the scholarship award. And that was what took me to University of Cape Town in South Africa for the whole year for a postdoc fellowship. So what am I saying? Motivation. I could have missed the opportunity. Why not for the opportunity of that seminar that I attended, where I got the right motivation? So that is very important. And I must tell you that that experience at the University of Cape Town really did a lot in my career. I was exposed to, it was at the University of Cape UCT that I actually had the...
1 minute.
Okay,
1 minute.
I'll round up now. That I had the opportunity of, being trained on how to engage non-research audience in, communicating your research findings. Before that time, once I do research, I'm just comfortable with publishing my research work in articles, journals, and the rest. But it was at that, I was now writing articles, blog articles for the university on their website. I was trained there and I had that skills. And from there, every time I do research, I'm always interested, not just in communicating my research findings to research audience alone, but also non-research audience. I hope that these 3 points, I have a lot of points to have shared with you, but these 3 points should be able to help young upcoming scholars to navigate through the bends of scholarship in their nearest future too. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Yes, straight. We move to the last guest speaker. We need the 10 minutes to also give us how the story of his scholarship and leadership has been impacted by their career and how has been his journey, especially from the experience of a mentor studentship that he has mentioned earlier before. Dr. Flavius.
Like you noted, talking about scholarship, leadership, and community development, over the years, there are a lot of things I have learned, especially with respect to my career, where I did my PhD. Coming from a radiography background and specializing in radiation, anything that has to do with radiation, I have passion for radiation safety and protection, and particularly for children. That's why initially I emphasized that talking about sustainability, talking about the planet Earth, Mother Nature, and the importance of conserving it and preserving, conserving the natural resources and preserving it for the future generation to ensure that the future generation are not threatened. We have to take care of children. And that is my area of specialization. That's my area of specialization. Children and adolescents, actually. How do we protect them from the harmful effects of radiation generally? And radiation is a fact of life. Everything around us make use of some form of one radiation form or the other. So what I did was to quantify the amount of radiation that children receive when they come for examinations, for X-ray examination, or for any kind of examination for medical reasons. What is the amount of radiation that is given to children that will be safe for them? And that is what we call diagnostic reference level. It seems to be technical, but when you talk about diagnostic reference level, you are trying to look at the amount of radiation dose, just like a drug that the pharmacist gives you or a doctor prescribes for you and you take. That drug also has a side effect. But the benefit of that drug has been weighed against the minimal potential effects of that drug before it's been administered to you. The same thing also applies for those of us who use radiation. But children are oftentimes neglected in this discussion, just as in other global discussions. That's where I picked interest for my PhD work, actually. And protect children from the negative effect of radiation. And why did I really pick children? Because children have a longer life expectancy to live long enough for the possible negative effect of radiation to become obvious later in life. And that is why it's very, very important that we protect them. And in Nigeria, and just like in other parts of the world, there's paucity of data that relates to children. A lot of innovations in terms of technology, a lot of innovations in terms of artificial intelligence in healthcare and all that. But you see that children rarely make the front line of most of this discussion. And that is where I picked my interest. And being that the area I am looking at was so technical, communicating findings in this area was very, very complicated. And for me, what further complicated my issue was in the middle of my PhD work, some policy and some guidance documents were changed at that point in the middle of the research work. Some standards that were the norm and acceptable as at then were now reviewed. My supervisor, examiners, not everybody was conversant with those things because they were just new. So I had to match the old and the new. And to ensure that I simplify the communication of my findings to my examiners and the target audience as much as possible. In the course of my presentations, I observed that there were a lot of confusions in terms of the simplification of my work. So what did I do? I decided to take an initiative to present my work beyond the conventional settings, beyond experts. National Tuberculosis Conference, other conferences that are not particularly my professional conference. I sent my abstract to those places. My abstracts were accepted. I went to present in those places. People gave me an objective criticism of my work. That helped me to be able to communicate my findings clearly to people. And I did not just stop at that level of my PhD. That is still an area I am passionate about. I have gone into another area of collaborating with colleagues outside my own field, because that is the area to go. Currently, I have a computer scientist. We have been working together. I've learned a lot from him. He has also learned a lot from me. At least we have some book chapters in artificial intelligence, Internet of Medical Things, cybersecurity as it relates to radiology and all that. There's also this medical geographer we collaborate together. You look at the medical radiographer collaborating with a medical geographer to solve local problems. Having studied locally, I have observed that we have more than enough problems locally that our researchers could solve if we have the right set of people, if we have the right mindset. Resources may really be lean, actually, but with ideas, we could have initiatives that could bring about the resources that will solve our local problem. And my own thinking, actually, I'm not thinking about how I will change the entire world. How will I really change my immediate environment? How will I also mentor the next generation? Very, very important. Because in my career, I was also opportune to be part of, one of my colleagues is also on this call. We're the first set of medical radiography in the University of Maiduguri. We had no superiors. So we had to also look up onto others, our teachers, and also be a model for others to follow. That is why I'm passionate about mentoring, because that is what has also helped me. Of course, the area where I work, the area where I train, if you have been conversant with what has been happening in northern Nigeria for over a decade plus, we've been passing through armed conflict crisis here. I consider myself as an internally displaced researcher. Internally displaced, but not completely displaced. Displaced and locked down by armed conflict, locked down and complicated by the COVID-19 crisis, but opened up to a wall of opportunities through the internet space, just as this platform that has been provided by Dr. Saib and others. Without the gift of the internet, the world cannot hear our voices. The world cannot really understand the plight of what we go through, we ourselves and our students. And I really feel so much for our students. I also salute their resilience. Because when I look at cases and I look at issues from my own perspective as an academic, as a scholar, I also look at their own situation. There were times that for you as a lecturer to sit down and set your questions, you cannot really be composed, because the next minute you will hear different sounds of bomb blasts, gunshots, and all that. Mentally, you are not composed. to even set your examination questions. But yet you will still be able to sit down and set those questions, and your students are also in the same condition to answer those questions. We are not in an ideal environment, but we've been able to learn resilience. We've been able to capture the blows that life throws on us and bounce back stronger to be able to face the challenges of life. Of course, we will not expect that others will come from elsewhere to solve our problem. Of course, some people are afraid. Sometimes when they hear, where do you stay, where do you work? You say you work in this university and this is where you are located. Oh, how do you survive in that place? So if we don't learn to be resilient, we don't learn to solve our own problem, nobody will come to solve our own problem. That is why we will be constrained by resources to do the high-tech research, but we use what we have to solve our own local problems. And it will also be of global significance and global relevance. I may not really want to say much, but in the area of mentoring and student capacity development, another area of need that I have identified from my PhD work is starting early, like I said. I had my first publication when I was doing my MSc. That was when I published my first paper, which was given to us as an assignment. I decided to take that assignment and do it religiously and converted it into a review manuscript and later presented it at a conference. I was doing that as an MSc student. I said, no, I will not want my students to learn this way. And I started experimenting over 6 or 7 years ago in Vienna and came back. I was opportune to be in Kenya last year for a conference. I had another conference paper to present here in school, and I was still on my way. I delegated one of the students. He successfully presented the paper at the conference here. So there's a lot that can be done, potentials that are yet to be harnessed in our students if given the opportunity. That is the little I can share in my own little capacity on my career path. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share.
Wow, wow, wow. Your story goes beyond scholarship. Your story goes beyond leadership. But it has actually infused another thing that we can call hero, the hero of generation. Despite the problems, despite the challenges, despite the disasters, you defy the whole situation. And you created a microenvironment for yourself to train yourself, to train your students, and emerge victorious. Congratulations from all of us. And also, we are inspired by your story. And on that note, I want to recognize and welcome and appreciate and celebrate the mother of the network, GSFN, Dr. Renuka Takure, our dear host on this very platform. Actually, Dr. Renuka Takure inspired me that if this is what you want to do for this year, I am in total support of it. This is a wonderful idea. And I drive the encouragement from that. And we have been driving the initiative, and we are amplifying every day, moving gradually. And let me formally introduce our guest, our global guest today, to our host. We have here the wonderful, the brilliant, the solution provider, Mr. Kapil Kaur from India, and also our wonderful and the usual brilliant scholar, Professor Vishnu Pada Bose. And also we have the community advocate and solution provider, Dr. Olushola Fadairo. Please open your camera. Then we have the last speaker that you met. That is Dr. Flavius Nkubli from Nigeria, where we have the terrorism issues since for the past decade now. And you have heard what he has said. So, and all our participants, this is our host, Dr. Renuka Takure. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sahid. It's a great, great honor. And I'm so pleased to see you working on this and offering your expertise, as well as you're inviting others to disseminate their expertise to and to those who are needing. Of course, I know here we are more more senior people than those who should be listening more. But however, because you are putting it on different platforms like YouTube and social media and so on, and eventually it will be disseminated. Plenty of things are going around the world, and people don't have enough time to just be here all the time. But your program is something that provides knowledge, provides a platform to share, and also provides a platform for action where they can learn and go back to their community or within their own self, like personal development and the collective development. And the examples that are shared here are very, very practical, but also inspiring. They are so inspiring that sometimes I feel that, oh, I'm not doing so much. It is reaching to the last mile of the community, where, and the last which I heard, I think it was very impressive example where we should be doing our knowledge philanthropy, making use of our expertise for collectives. And I think that is what GSFN is advocating every time. And especially now when we have, along with your challenge, like your is probably one of the, parallel challenges that now GSFN is leading. And we want to grow the global South capacity to address all the challenges that could be for the personal lives or the collectives, and beyond that is climate change and sustainable development and so on. And these all programs which GSFN is part of, like we are very happy that you are part of GSFN and making us proud. That is what we are doing, and trying to be sharing our each other's expertise, but knowledge. And again, what is the golden thread in between all these is that we are the community and we want to grow without any barriers. Like whatever the barriers are, if we are collective, we will be able to address them, because we have these all solutions. You can see the range of solutions coming out of your program. Every time I hear new things, and if these things are applicable, scalable, then why not? I think it is going to bring tremendous contribution to all SDGs. Communication and powerful leadership is the most important to lead the change, and that is what you are doing. So I will stop here because I have to go for a meeting at 10. So thank you very much for having me, and please everyone enjoy this program. And we are very happy that we could support, and all you are a part of GSFN. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Renuka ji.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, before we take the final closing remarks from our global guest today, I want to open the floor for our participants that are here on live session, because some are on the YouTube session, some will watch it later. But for those of us that are here today, I want to open the floor for us to interact and also maybe comment, question for our guests before they take the last closing remarks of 3 minutes. Yes.
Before Dr. Nkubli presented, as Dr. Fadairu, he said something that in this part of the world, you have to listen to your supervisor, whereas in other part of the world, the student has like 90% control over his own projects. But I just want to ask that since he has been there before, I hope we're doing something on that, because I could testify to that. I remember when I was actually doing that on my master, when I was in my master in University of Ilorin, I had the same problem. And in fact, out of 50 students in my class then, like only 2 graduated. The remaining 48 left the program because one, they wasted our time. 2, they were like, you just have to do what they wanted. Although we were ready to do it, but another thing came up. So I hope that has been looked into in other universities. Then also, can we have for this kind of platform? I have learned a lot also about from experience of others too. And Dr. Nkupili made mention of collaborating with other people from different professions. And Dr. Faida also retreated something on that, said something on that, that you should impact the non-researchers, because I want to believe after this kind of summit, this kind of conference, this kind of meetings like this, we need to package things together and start selling, because the impacting part actually is the essence for all these conferences or these summits. There should be the impact should be felt. That's actually my contribution, and somehow a kind of question too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We are going to take that together. Yes. Another comment or remark or question?
With their interest. So the question is that, what if such kind of supervisor is not thinking along in line with the moment? That's what we discussed earlier, that we need to follow the trend, what is happening. That's the kind of challenges we need to look into and look a proper solution into. What if the kind of supervisor we are dealing with is not thinking in that context? It's just willing that the students will do something like carry out a common research. Let me just say common research, as one of our global guests said. So what if that kind of supervisor is just trying to go for a common research while you as a student knows what you want to go for as a particular goal that we want to achieve? Thank you.
What are those things that one needs to prepare for? Like, what are those things that one needs to be doing as an undergraduate in preparation for opportunities, such as scholarship, grants, and all that, sir? And again, sir, is there any place or some online platform that if an undergraduate carry out a research, maybe through writings and all that, is there a place we can publish our research, maybe like a write-up or journals? Is there a place we can publish to, sir? Those are my questions, sir.
Thank you. We take it together. Yes. Any other comment or remarks or question? Yes, sir. Yes, Mrs. Rebecca Danzaria. Unmute yourself.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be in this meeting. I've learned a lot, and I'm excited to hear my lecturer, Dr. Flavius, talk about issues in Nigeria. Is actually the true representation of what's actually happening there. And at least through such platform, people will be able to hear what's actually happening in that part of the country. And I'm so grateful for all what I've learned today. And I wish such things will come up again, and there will be more participants that will be able to get more from this. So thank you so much. It's just a comment. Thank you.
A focus, a design of the research that will be carried out. And they have a design funding that is taking care of such researches. And if anybody wants to actually carry out a research or you want to advance in any degree, you will be looking for that window of opportunity that have been created. The research window, the funding window. So the people, the professors or the leader of the research will only accept any proposal that fits into that very research focus and that very funding window. So it is not that you have freedom to do whatever you like, or you have freedom to initiate something. You must look at the window very properly before you get into it. But like it has been said, we have an open opportunities in advanced country because of very available funding for new initiative, new research focus, new research areas that can solve humanity problems. So that is where we have different flexible window that you can key into. But in our own situation, a researcher that you want to key into, that is your supervisor or a professor, is also looking for a funding window. Is also looking for a research focus, and he won't like to begin a journey with you that you won't be able to continue, or that you will get stuck at the end of the day. So one of the responsibility of you that you want to go into research is to select appropriate supervisor, is to look for appropriate university, is to look for an informed person about what you want to do, so that you won't have a friction when you want to journey on your career of research or advance your degrees. That is just the little thing I can contribute. But let me open the floor for our global guest to give maybe response to any of these very questions or comments, and also give their closing remarks within three minutes because of our time. Let me start with Mr. Kapil Kaur. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dr. Shahid. I'm very glad today. And I would like to read out a statement in my closing remark, which would encapsulate essentially what is driving me and the initiatives that I have started, which I have expressed during this seminar. Stone Age didn't end due to the lack of stones. It ended due to technological advancement. In defense of nature, man has to be defended against himself, since man is his own greatest enemy. The enemy is not another country, but our own inner desires, our vanity. You will be surprised how much defense and R&D contributes to our well-being and safety in our day-to-day activities. This is not known to many people, really. Even the internet or the cell phone or anything, as a Velcro zip, your crocin, this is all because of defense technology. We aren't the owners of this planet, but mere tenants who can be evicted without a moment's notice. Though luckily we have been served one in the form of a pandemic, which to my mind will not be the last one and not the only form of eviction. Climate change is a far bigger and looming threat. We have to view this as an inevitability, and the only way we can try and avert the ensuing devastation of such oncoming events is by planning and changing our lifestyle, economic systems, and consumption patterns. Buying insurance so as to say in the event of such disasters. By and large, one has observed that if you take an insurance or plan for a downside in life, one averts the worst, if not being totally safe from unforeseen events in life. If torn jeans can be fashionable, why not old down clothes be equally fashionable? If one can buy pre-owned Mercedes-Benz cars, why aren't we wearing renewed old clothes or clothes made from scrap clothing? Waste not, want not. Tax waste at the municipality level. Why should the government be responsible for us consumers wasting and throwing away stuff which we bought and didn't want in the first place? Put crude oil back into the ground, bury it before mankind is buried in its plastic garbage. Crude is mankind's Frankenstein, out from the Pandora's box. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much. We are so happy to have you. Yes, let's take that from Dr. Flavius Nkubli. Closing remarks or a response to any of the questions in 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you once again, Dr. Shaib, other respected guests and audience on this call. Thank you for the opportunity. Quickly, I want to respond to some aspects of the question as part of my closing remark, particularly for the undergraduate student who asked what he can do as a 200 level student. You are already on the right track, young man. For you to have been on this call, you are headed for success if you maintain the tempo and connect with the right persons. That was what I did early on in my career as an undergraduate student from 100 level. Mentorship is one area that has helped me quite a lot. I have professors who have never seen me one-on-one, but we have interacted. They have written referral letters on my behalf without even seeing me. Relationship is key. Build relationship with your lecturers. They are not your enemies, they are your friends. Even the ones that appear to be hostile, they will be the most friendly ones if you know how to deal with them. Study, build your capacity, the soft skills, critical thinking skills, decision-making skills, leadership skills. Don't be afraid to attempt. Also associate yourself with like minds. Interestingly, my head of department was on this call. I don't know if he's still here. We were from undergraduate, we have been together. And we respect one another. We study together, form teams and groups like that from undergraduate. You don't know how far it will take you. And if you have a good relationship with your lecturers, you win their confidence. The examples I gave, my student, it was in 300 level. One of the conference papers, the young man approached me and said he wants to write something on cybersecurity. I said, let's link it up with 5G technology, how it affects radiography education and practice in Nigeria. And we presented that at a conference. That earned me a research collaboration with the computer scientist I'm talking about today. From 300 level, the young man has just graduated now. We have maintained that relationship for 3 years. Last year, we won a grant by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. His abstract was accepted. You build this relationship over time. Even your supervisors, be patient. One thing with young people is we don't have that patience to sit down and to follow through, to go through the process. But once you avoid distractions as much as possible and channel your energy in the right direction, attend educational webinars like this. Even conferences, scientific conferences have sessions for students. And sometimes even registration could be waived or will be reduced for you. So liaise with your lecturers and work with them. My own closing remark is this: as I always say, there's one of the favorite quotes of our former president. Let's consume what we produce. I believe in local content. While thinking globally, I still act locally in my own base. Thank you very much for the privilege once again.
Yes, before you go, please recognize the HOD that you mentioned.
Okay, I have two important friends on this call. I don't know if they are here. My head of department and my very good friend also, the president of the Society of Radiographers in Kenya. He's also on this call. He's currently on. It's like my HOD just stepped out. The president of the Society of Radiography in Kenya is my very good friend. He's also here, Mr. Javas Kenyanya.
Oh, response and closing remarks.
Well, let me first and foremost address the question by Mr. Samuel Aluko. And I think Jennifer Olawari also told that line. I wouldn't want to totally put the blame of supervisors, making suggestions on research areas of interest to students. I wouldn't want to put the blame squarely on supervisors. I think it depends on the governance framework for postgraduate study programs in different countries. In UCT, I'm familiar with what happened at UCT because I was there as an academic, a visiting academic. If you are a student, you are interested in a PhD program, you are supposed to write a proposal, a PhD proposal, and then that proposal will be screened even before you are admitted. There will be a cross-matching of your research interest with what the supervisors on ground are interested in. And it is only when there is available capacity, human capacity, to supervise your PhD work, and then there's an evidence of funding for that research that you are offered admission. And that makes the whole thing to, seems to work, well. So there wouldn't be issues of trying to, agree on what research title to focus on when you resume as a student anymore. Because before that time, the supervisor would have read through your draft proposal, and he or she has shown interest that he is able to supervise this work and is willing. And so what you are likely going to just face is the issue of fine-tuning, giving you insights, technical support, and backstopping. It does happen here, but not, perhaps that is the areas that our policymakers at the level of higher institution should focus on. Students are not made to write proposals. Where students are required to write proposals, it's just paperwork, not really treated to see, okay, this student is interested in corruption study. Do we have human capacity? Do we have any lecturer who's interested in that? We can supervise this student. But as a matter of, maybe just a criteria, that's part of the criteria. And then you are admitted. And you must also give it to the supervisor, because it is not in your best interest that somebody who is a climatologist is supervising you, who has interest in doing maybe something that has to do with microbiology. You are not going to probably learn a lot from that person. Because so that is why sometimes supervisors want to ensure that you do your research in areas where he is sure that he has proven capacity to contribute the best to you. Notwithstanding, it is true that we have that problem in some quarters, that a supervisor actually want to have his way, force his interest on you for some other reasons. Okay, but largely the problem is caused by this governance system that needs to be revised. And then individual of us, you will also grow to become part of the academia. Whatever experiences you have gone through in the process of being what you are, pick the positive one, improve upon it. The ones that are not so much palatable for you, okay, identify those ones and see how you can be a better person in engaging with students. That's one of the things I do. Some of the horrible experiences I went through when I was doing my PhD program, I deliberately decided that for me, I'm going to be a brand new person. If my time had been wasted, without any due justification, I made up my mind that I'm not going to waste any student's time. Okay, so the honors, the responsibility to build, this society that we crave for, lies on every one of us. If you do your part, I do my part, everyone does his or her part, then we are going to have this kind of society that we dream of. So I want to encourage, I think that's going to be my parting words. We all have responsibilities. We all have roles to play. The positive experiences you have had in life, see how you can improve upon it to deliver the best to people who are coming after you. The ones that are not so good, don't say, okay, because I went through this torturous experience. Then anybody who goes through me must also know that, look, it wasn't easy for me to get here. They must also pay through their nose to get to it. No. See how you can be a change person, a better person, a change agent, to advocate for what is right and do what is right. And I tell you, you are going to be rewarded for whatever you do. For anything you do in life, there's surely a reward for it. So on that note, I'd like to say thank you again, and then stay tuned to this SLSP monthly platform. You have a lot to learn from it. All of us are learning, including those of us who are even guests. We learn from interaction with these brilliant members of the audience. Thank you, Dr. Adebisi, for this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. The program actually runs every Saturday from January to December. And we take the last and also a response from Professor Vishnu.
Speaker present over here, and scholars, guests. So thank you so much. In my, if you talk about my sharing my experience as a professor or as a research guide, I also always encourage to the student, undergraduate level, master's level, and PhD level, to write a research proposal what field he or she desired, and also participate as many as possible conference, seminar, workshop, etc., and writing a research paper, so that student can validate their research through the publications of journals and attending conference. That is the best way to validate their own research in this platform. And of course, first of all, students should choose their topic based on his desired field, and according to he or she search for student PhD supervisor or guide also, then it will be very suitable for performing a research. And that is the main things. And at the same time, in the mainly I am emphasis to the doctoral student, and emphasis the doctoral student to find the research gap accurately, exactly, or ethically should perform the research. The research gap actually the problem which is exists in the earth. Research scholars should provide the solution with this gap, to following this gap, and accordingly he perform the research. That is the actual PhD. So that his or her research outcome contribute to the global development or building the civilization, building the community, and restoring the environment, restoring ecology, restoring many things, and mainly societal development. And at the same time, we, including all, we can reach to the goal of global sustainable 17 SDG goals. It is one thing. And another thing, who is performing research in abroad or mentioned first world country, he must communicate to the supervisors and early, at least 1 year, 1.5 years early, and share his view and proposals to the respective professors with the desired field, what he like to perform in the research area. So it is the basic philosophy for the scholar, I must say this. And I always encourage students to perform research, whatever they doing. I'm always encouraged to do something and validate your research through the conference, webinar, workshop, and writing research, writing journals, manuscript. And I always keep a patience towards student, because student is very, I have a soft corner towards student because they are very initial stage. So I must keep the patience to build them a better citizen. That is my philosophy. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
It has been a wonderful experience with all our guests. I will call upon one of our members that's been active since we started to give us a vote of thanks to our global guests, and also appreciate all our participants at this session. I will call upon Frank from Uganda. Frank.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, our dear guests. Thank you so much, our dear scholars. We really appreciated this session. It was really wow. We really appreciate the mentorship. This opportunity was okay. And I think I'm calling upon each and everyone who is there. I'm calling upon doctors who are there, or scholars, let me say scholars, that this platform is good. If at any time you can help us and tell some of your students that if you need mentorship, this is the right platform. Thank you so much. Frank from Uganda, Global Coordinator. What I learned from this session was to be committed about your passion project. Be committed about what you want. Everything should be done in time. Everything that we do should be on a schedule basis. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the service. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much. Until next week, till we run the Saturday session till the end of February, we'll still be in contact with you. And when you have the time, you will avail us with your time. And we thank you so much. Dr. Vishnu, thank you so much. Mr. Kafika, thank you so much. Dr. Padairu, thank you so much. Dr. Flavius, thank you so much. And everybody, Mr. Jevas Kenyaya, thank you. Mrs. Rebecca Dazaria, thank you. Mrs. Davisi, Latifa Anissa, thank you. Miss Jennifer Olawore, thank you. Mr. Master Mohammed, thank you. Kazim Aliko, thank you so much. See you next week when we come with another discussion and another focus. We appreciate everybody. Thank you.